Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here of this Wednesday Spectacular. Get you a full update of what we got going on. We got high school section hoops tonight. Looking forward to that. Here, we'll preview that before we wrap up the show. Well, as we talked about yesterday on the show, we had Tim Polasek here in studio as we went through the Bison football schedule that is now done. The fact that actually the schedule is completed is a work of art, considering that NDSU decided announced they were going FBS on February 9. It's March 11th, and the Bison have a schedule done. Our next guest has been sweating over that. I can't believe he doesn't have a phone attached to his ear permanently. As we welcome back to Hot Mic, NDSU Deputy Athletic Director Todd Phelps joins us here today. I'll just say this flat out: the fact you got this done in whatever 32 days or less than that is unbelievable. That is a heck of a job, my man. That's really good stuff.
No, I appreciate it, Dom. It was it was a lot of time and energy and a lot of time on the phone and text messages and emails and a lot of help too, which was key. Certainly didn't do this alone. We had a lot of help and support. There were certainly some times over the course of this last month that I wasn't sure what was going to happen or what we were going to be able to put together or, what we ultimately might have. But it came together, and very happy with how it came together and what we're able to do for this 2026 season.
All right. Everyone knows how much of a nerd I am on this. So let's start from the beginning. So the announcement is made to the FCS schools on the non-conference. Did they approach you, or did you go to them saying, are you interested, or is anybody out there? How did that first start?
Well, yeah, as you know, we had a full schedule. And so back in 2020, right around COVID and right around when a lot of the conference realignment pieces started to come together, we started to put into all of our contracts an NCAA reclassification clause. So basically said, if either school reclassifies to a different NCAA membership division, that their contract could be null and void with no damages, no penalties to either school. So we had that in all of the contracts except for one. The only one we didn't have that in was the Central Arkansas game on the road, because we did that prior to COVID.
Right.
Back when they came up here for that one COVID game, and they came back up here again in either 22 or 23. And so then we owed them that game. So that was the only one that didn't have that clause in it. So at that point, then, to answer your question, yes, it was a matter of, knowing that we wanted to have one FCS game, and there was one that was actually sitting in the spot where we wanted it, and reached out to them first and said, hey, even though this is a home and home, we will pay you a guarantee, to come and just leave that game right where it is. And they opted out, and then started reaching out to, a number of the other FCS teams that we had on the schedule, and they all opted out.
So after that, then I got a blank slate to work with then, right? Did that, I don't know, did that make it easier or harder that, we're working with zero now going forward?
It made it a little harder because, to be honest, the toughest one was the FCS game.
Yeah.
That was absolutely the biggest challenge. Starting over with a blank slate wasn't bad. From immediately we reached out, again, Dave Brown from Gridiron, you know that name. I've talked about that name. He was really helpful. He immediately looked at the Jacksonville State, San Jose State game because they were supposed to be playing. And obviously San Jose State had the 13 games. So then it was a matter of saying, hey, can we break this game up? San Jose State will come to you as a non-con. We got permission from John in the Mountain West to say, hey, we're going to give you San Jose State as the team that is you're not going to play in your conference schedule. So if you break that game up and you can get Jacksonville State to commit to come, then, we were good to go. And to be honest, Dom, both those places, both San Jose State, Jacksonville State, were tremendous in the process, and were willing to give up that game. Jacksonville State was willing to come up here in week 0. And San Jose State was willing to take us on as a non-con as long as we were going there, which worked fine in the schedule. And then from that point, it was, filling the FCS game, which was the hardest.
With Jacksonville State, was that also implied, Todd, that you guys would go there? Was that negotiated as part of the whole process?
Yeah, right off the bat, that was committed to a home and home. I mean, there wasn't any real negotiation with that. They wanted us to come back down there. We agreed, and we're able to find the date in 2029, which worked out fine. And then the other piece was Sac State going to the MAC. That was a huge help.
So with that happening, I'm sure your alarm bells are going off. Like, okay, there's a game. Like, we just got to find a date, right?
Yeah, there was, and that was a little bit of the tricky piece. Initially, we were having some conversations with Sac State right before they made the move, which did make it easier. But then they had kind of a schedule and they were trying to figure it out. So that made it a little tricky. And there was some moving parts there with Sac State that we might not have played them. We might have had them play somebody and then somebody was going to come play us. But ultimately it worked out that we were able to play them and go on the road in that September 19th game. Because that originally wasn't slotted for September 19th.
Okay.
But then the Mountain West was able to help us kind of move that around so we could get that done and then get the return game in 27, which was key because needing the 5 FBS games, at home, we got that now for 27. So that makes life a little easier for 27.
So I mentioned this with Tim yesterday in studio. Normally these are done, and you know better than me, 4, 5, 6 years in advance. You did this in 6 months out. I mean, I know you wouldn't advise us to do this to anybody else, correct?
Oh, you're 100% right. It was, like I told you in the beginning, I mean, there was some nights where, I was, going to bed and I'm like, okay, you know what? I think we are really close. We just need this to happen and this to happen and we'll be good. And you wake up the next morning and you reach out and you get a phone call of, we decided we're not interested. And everything falls apart and you start from scratch. So there was a lot of that because there was probably specifically for trying to get that FCS game, there was probably 5 or 6 scenarios that we went through to land where we landed. I mean, and it was, again, you're asking teams to break up. You're asking teams to stop playing somebody they're going to play. And hey, you guys don't play that game. We're going to get you a game over here. You're going to come to us, then they're going to go over there. And then you got to fill the one the other team that you broke up. So it was moving parts. In some cases, there was 3, 4, 5 teams involved in trying to shuffle the deck. And again, one of those doesn't fall into place, and the whole thing falls apart.
Was there a previous relationship? Did you know anybody at Fordham, or how did that come about?
Well, so what Dave Brown did for us was he got where he was really instrumental was he looked at every single game going in that specific week. We knew we wanted it to be on that September 5th date. And so he looked at every single FCS game. And to be honest, Dom, it came down to, in some cases, where there are some very low buyout situations in which somebody could get out of a game fairly easily and then potentially come to us. But our goal, knowing that we're orchestrating this whole thing, was that, okay, that's great. If Fordham is going to not play Central Connecticut State, then we need to help Central Connecticut State find a game. And we did that. We made sure that everybody remained whole. If some of those schools decided not to take us up on, a game we were able to find, then that was kind of on them. But, Matt and I wanted to make sure that everybody remained whole and that we weren't leaving somebody in the lurch. And it wasn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't perfect. And it was really, really difficult. And a lot of phone calls and a lot of negotiations and a lot of back and forth with a lot of people.
So I have 2 more questions that I don't know if you can even answer on it. I got a lot of people asking me about the Montana State and Vegas game. There's obviously a large financial consideration to that, Todd. As we sit here on March 11th, 2026, is the intention to play that game still?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, the intention is to play that game. We've had a lot of good conversations with the Mountain West about that. The key piece to that, Dom, is that this isn't, the Montana State game in Vegas is a ESPN events game. Yep. Obviously, they are not our media partners any longer. So if we had done this deal, or if we had tried to even do this deal as a current Mountain West partner, we couldn't have done it. But because we did this deal prior to, the Mountain West is, on board with trying to help us, with our media partners, play that game next year out in Vegas. So right now, I think we feel really good that we'll be able to do it.
So with that, then you would not play an FCS home game then, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So now obviously I've got Sac State at home, so
Yep.
that's a huge piece right there. And then probably look for another FBS at home, and then potentially an FBS on the road.
On the road.
And then we could start a home and home on the road. We could start another home and home that would start at home.
Okay.
So that's what I'm kind of looking at right now, and I've had some conversations with Dave Brown. I've reached out to a couple places already, looking to start a home and home that isn't matching up quite yet, but yeah, already working on 2027, and already had a conversation with Oregon too.
That was my other question we got was about Oregon, and obviously that's sitting there. That was originally scheduled in 2016 for 2020, then got moved obviously to 2028. But they signed you as an FCS school. Are they hesitant to do this, or what's your latest conversations with the Ducks?
Yeah, no, I had a conversation last week with Oregon, and as of right now, they're fully on board and planning to honor that game.
Okay.
The only thing that could come up is maybe a shift in date, maybe a shift in year, but they're working through their schedules and what 27, 28, and 29 work or look like. So we're kind of in a holding pattern, and my conversation with them was, let's just keep in communication over the next few months and see how things shake out. But their full intent is to honor that contract and play that game in 28.
Well, I'm sure you saw this. Western Kentucky just got $1.1 million to play Oregon next season. So the going rate, man, you got to jack that up then, right?
Yeah, I had that conversation. That didn't go exactly where I thought it might go. But again, they're open to the conversation. Yeah. I think if we were to move off of the current date, then I think absolutely there could be some change in the finances. If it stays, there's a chance that it just stays what it is.
I wanted to ask about Bison women's basketball. I know everyone is hoping that NDSU gets an at-large bid. If it doesn't come to fruition, Todd, NDSU has an automatic berth into the WBIT. How, from what you guys understand, how does that work? Is there a potential that NDSU could play another game at the Shield Center next week?
Yeah, obviously, first and foremost, I'm hoping for Jory and the women that they get an NCAA tournament bid, an at-large bid. I certainly think they deserve it with their body of work this year and how they played, and obviously ran into a really good, as we know, South Dakota State team. So hard-fought game. I'm hoping they get it. To answer your question, yes, they would automatically get into the WBIT. From what we understand, and don't hold me to this, but from what we understand, if you're a first four out of the NCAA tournament, which is where we sit right now, there's a good chance you're a high seed in the WBIT, which certainly could mean then hosting a game, maybe more in the Shield Center for women's basketball, which would, again, you want the NCAA tournament, but if we're hosting some home games and these kids get to keep playing, could be a lot of fun.
Now that's ahead of the previous tournament you guys have been in, the WNIT. You had to pay for that. This one, the NCAA pays the freight, correct on this?
That's correct. So similar to the way the NIT works on the men, the WNIT was, if you want to call it a pay for play, we put in finances in order to support that, and that was a lot of fun. The WBIT came about a few years ago, and is run and operated by the NCAA. So then, expenses for the most covered.
Last thing before I let you go, just the attention now that's going to come Sunday when the selection show happens. How different is that, and what do you expect the next few days to be like leading up to next week when the games happen?
Yeah, no, I couldn't be more excited for Dave and the guys and what Dave and the coaching staff were able to do, this year, and piecing together these guys and coming together as quickly as they did, and the cohesive unit and the culture he created around this team was just phenomenal. So really looking forward to Selection Sunday and seeing where we go, and then it'll be a matter of when we're gonna hit the road. Pretty sure we're not obviously going to be in the first four, so it's going to be a Thursday or a Friday tip, and so we'll figure out when we leave and hit the road and where we're going. So it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing where we go and watching these guys compete. I think as Travion Carson said in his press conference in Sioux Falls, they don't fear anybody. So we'll see.
This was really good, Bud. Thanks for pulling the curtain back on scheduling, because everybody wanted to know on that. And I know we'll be talking about it again soon, because 2027 stuff is underway. So thanks for doing this morning. I appreciate it.
Yep, anytime, Dom. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Todd Phelps joining us, NDSU's Deputy Athletic Director, the man charged with scheduling for the football team, and you saw it there, and now the work is underway. But for those wondering on the Vegas game in 27, it certainly sounds like that's going to happen, and the Bison will still get another FBS game here as well. On top of Sac State's coming here, there's going to be another FBS team that's coming to the Fargo Dome in the fall of 2027. So you got that. We'll see on Oregon. My gut tells me that it's probably moving, but you never know. Because right now, the Bison only get about $675,000 for that game. They want that doubled. And if that means moving it down the road, I think they take that trade. We'll see. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll get you ready. We got a loaded Sports Wednesday. The girls' state basketball tournament underway in Minnesota. We got section semifinals happening in Minnesota tonight on the boys' side. We'll preview that when we wrap up the show after this.